Salute everybody. I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. Breaking news. More info on the shooter or possible shooters of the Charlotte law enforcement agencies that happened on yesterday in Charlotte. So we're like 2-3 minutes away from live coverage of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department giving us an update. So what we know from now, that the suspect was killed in a line of fire, well, not in a line of fire, but a suspect was killed along with the 4 law enforcements. So let me read my disclaimer, and then we're gonna dig deep into the demonstration. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Anything that you hear in this demonstration, anything that you hear in this video that I call a demonstration, is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Salute everybody that's catching this on the replay. Salute everybody that's watching from the clouds. Salute all my moderators. Salute you, him, and her. Salute to the whole Rock Squad. Salute to all the new subscribers. Salute Blue Devil G. Appreciate you for pulling up, Blue Devil G. Salute Melanie. Salute Tammy. Salute y'all. So what we know from right now, that the alleged suspect, 39-year-old, they were serving a warrant, and apparently he came out and started opening fire on law enforcement. A total of 8 law enforcements got hit. 8 law enforcements got hit. 4 of those lost their lives. 1 was a U.S. Marshal, 2 were correctional officers, and another was a Charlotte Mecklenburg Police sheriff. What I'm trying to understand is, what was a correctional officer? What were 2 correctional officers doing there when they were serving this warrant, when they was apprehending this fugitive from justice? But I'm going to let the live coverage get y'all up to date on what's going on, and then I'll come back and we'll chop it up. Now, apparently there were 2 females inside of this house, a 17-year-old female and an adult female. Now, they don't know if they were the ones that were shooting. They don't know. But they did take them down for questioning, and they did say that they are cooperating. So let's go to the live coverage.
Return fire.
For the last few days, it's just been very tough. And knowing that you have families that are hurting right now.
When you hear something like this happen, it really just shakes me to the core, and it's part of the reason why I want to join law enforcement, to be that one that's coming to help.
If you could speak to each one of those fallen officers today and ask them the question, why did you take the oath? Why did you become law enforcement officers? Their response, why not?
And we will certainly get through this, but it will take time, and it will take support from all of our community as our officers continue to keep our community safe even through this tragedy.
A day of mourning in the Queen City as we remember the lives lost in yesterday's shooting that left 4 officers dead.
Waves of support are pouring in, but many questions still remain. Our Queen City News team is covering all angles of this day after that deadly shooting. Queen City News anchor Derek Dellinger is in East Charlotte, looking at how the community around where the shooting happened is reacting. And also Queen City News anchor Robin Kennedy sharing details about what we're learning about fallen officer Joshua Eyer.
And we do want to start with Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce joining us live from CMPD headquarters this afternoon, where you're getting some insight into the initial gunfight the officers had with the suspect yesterday. Daniel?
Yeah, and keep in mind that timeline, according to Chief Johnny Jennings, is still being worked out. They're looking through every possible body camera that was on scene to determine exactly what happened and when it happened. Law enforcement officers that we are learning were taking gunfire even in those early stages of trying to serve this search warrant. Right now, it is even still too early to fully determine if there were two shooters, something that law enforcement thought, especially as they were removing two females from that house yesterday afternoon.
It's a scar on Charlotte, but a scar that won't heal.
A pointed statement to the Charlotte community from CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings as investigators work to piece together Monday's chaotic response.
And this individual was able to unload several rounds towards our officers within a matter of seconds.
Just before 2 in the afternoon, the U.S. Marshal's task force was approaching the front door to a house here along Galway Drive when the gunmen opened fire.
Officers were actually approaching the residence when they took on gunfire. The suspect at the time had an upper advantage to the officers, so he was shooting from upstairs. Down at the officers, both front and back.
They need armor in the backyard, a lot of armor in the backyard.
Officers were shot with an AR-15 and a .40 caliber handgun, which the gunman had multiple rounds for. The question Chief Jennings once answered is how he got it.
And we'll be able to determine that based on the purchase of the firearms and who purchased them and how he acquired them from that individual.
Authorities say the gunman injured 8 law enforcement officers in both the front and back sides of the house. U.S. Marshal Task Force members Sam Pelosi and Alden Elliott died before they could get to the hospital. Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks died Monday evening, leaving behind a wife and 4 children.
Would you do this again, knowing your fate yesterday? Would you do it again? There would be a boisterous yes.
Chief Jennings revealed Officer Joshua Eyer was trying to rescue one of those 3 U.S. Marshal Task Force members when he was gunned down.
And as he demonstrated yesterday, he's the kind of officer you want to respond when you need help. He was rushing in to help a task force officer when he was taken on by gunfire. And then he finds himself from being a rescuer to needing rescue himself.
Those 2 females that were removed from the house yesterday, we were told that one of them is 17 years old. We have not been told what the relation is to the gunman. We are being told that they are cooperating, but right now no charges have been filed against them yet. Live in Uptown, Daniel Pierce, Queen City News.
Daniel, thank you for that. And a husband, a father, and a hero. That is how fallen Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer Joshua Eyer is being remembered today. Queen City News anchor Robin Kennedy joins us live at the medical examiner's office in Charlotte.
And a procession is about to get underway to carry the fallen officer to the funeral home. Robin, Officer Eyer, he had ties all around Charlotte.
He did, Brian and Annie, and we just watched that procession just minutes ago leave here from the medical examiner's office. A very solemn ceremony here where we saw dozens of CMPD patrol cars as well as the bike patrol carrying and leading the fallen officer's body to the funeral home on Freedom Drive in Charlotte. And we also want to tell you a little bit about Joshua Eyer. Officer Joshua Eyer graduated from Mooresville High School in 2011, and he's a military veteran and was this month's Officer of the Month for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. Now, this is the memorial for Officer Eyer. His squad car is draped with an American flag at CMPD's North Tryon Division. The office is closed for the day in Eyer's memory. Officer Eyer served with CMPD for 6 years. He was married and has a young son. Eyer was also also a National Guardsman for North Carolina. He was part of the 211th Military Police Company. They're remembering him as one of the most trusted and respected members of their unit. CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings is remembering Officer Eyer as a hero who rushed into danger yesterday to try and help his fellow law enforcement officers. The police chief was quite emotional at the loss of not only his officer, but 3 other law enforcement officers.
The last few days have it's just been very tough. And knowing that you have families that are hurting right now. We'll get through it though.
Very emotional from Police Chief Johnny Jennings today. Tonight at 5, we'll have details on that procession that just left here moments ago, as well as more on how the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is remembering Officer Joshua Eyer. I'm live in Charlotte. Robin Kennedy, Queen City News.
Yeah, it's just a very, very emotional moment today. All right, Robin, thank you. We're also learning more about Terry Hughes, the man authorities were serving the warrant on and at the center of this shooting. Queen City News anchor Derek Dellinger joins us live in East Charlotte, near the home where it all happened. And Derek, the front of that home is now just in pieces.
Yes, it is. In fact, I'm going to get out of the way so you can take a look at it right now. Just about the past hour or so, we've seen U-Haul come up and people come in, starting to remove some things from the home. We know this home was being rented at the time, which would probably likely make sense. The landlords are coming in and trying to clear some of this stuff out. Now, law enforcement has largely left this neighborhood, giving us a better look at what all happened yesterday. It's also leading to a lot of attention out here as well, with people and even national media here wanting to see what was left of it all. Now, we got to look at several sides of this home, and you can see the front of it wide open, along with bullet holes on the side, as well as some of the damage that was even next door. One of the neighbors here let us see the after effects of all that happened yesterday when the marshals and police had this shootout. Now, when the moments came to rescue some of those that were shot as well, since then, there's been a steady stream of people coming out here wanting to see all that happen, and for some here, it has been quite the overwhelming sight.
I've been following the story, and I said, let me come over here, take a look, and this whole thing is shocking. Never seen nothing like this. No.
Now, we do have an interview with the man who lives next door. You'll hear what he had to say about those tense moments and also some of the damage that he has in his yard as a result of all that happened yesterday. We also have a bit more information on Hughes' criminal history. We'll be digging into that coming up at 5. Live in East Charlotte, Derek Dellinger, Queen City News.
And keep up with the latest details on the Shannon Park shooting by heading to our website, qcnews.com.
Meantime, today marks 5 years since a mass shooting at UNC Charlotte. One victim says it forever changed him.
So, we were able to see the aftermath. Did y'all see the house? I mean, but there's so many questions, like, how did he get the firearms? Exactly what type of caliber firearm did he have? I heard him mention that he was, I think, above, and that's how he got the drop on the officer. So did that mean he was in attic upstairs? Was he on the roof? Because he was able to wound 8. I believe it was 8 that he was able to wound. Now, the $1 million question that everybody wants to know is, was he the only shooter? Was it other shooters? They did say that they took 2 females down to the police station for questioning. 2 of them, well, one of them was 17, which is a minor. And then, yeah, that's in Charlotte. That's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah, it happened on Galway in Charlotte, North Carolina. So now the thing of it is the two females haven't been charged with nothing. They did say that, the two females, have been very cooperative. But once again, that's the thing, Positive Vibes. Did he already know they was on the way to him and got prepared for them? Who knows? That's the $1 million question. I'm sure with him having these outstanding warrants on him, I'm sure that he knew eventually they would, be coming for him. But that's a good question. Did he know that they were coming? And then it's really, because people can say all day long that the police should have been prepared, but I can even, vouch for that. It's just like every day we walk out our house. When we go to work, anything can happen on our job. And I know they law enforcement, so they should have been prepared for a situation like this. But I do believe that whatever weapon he had, and they didn't mention yet, and hopefully we can get that information in another hour. Shank, you think he knows someone on the inside? Strong possibility, because it was almost like he ambushed them. It was almost like he knew they was coming, and it was just as if he was ready for them. And says, did they know who they were going to pick up? Yes, they knew who it was, and they knew that he had priors. They also knew that, he liked to play with guns. He do have a criminal record, and the warrant was for him being a felon with being in possession of illegal firearms. It very is tragic, and if I could get y'all to throw up some prayer hands for those officers that lost their lives, and some condolences, and for just the whole law enforcement department, because they were going out to do their job. Salute, Ebony. Salute, Ebony. I see you. I see you. And from my understanding, they were just going to serve the warrant, and maybe he knew that it was it for him because of the things that he was wanted for. Blue Devil says might be his lawyer may give him the heads up. Strong possibility. You never know. You never know in these type of situations, But y'all seen the video footage, and he was able to get out on him. I mean, and he, one, salute Tammy, one suspect. Salute OG Patrice, one suspect. It reminds you of Rambo. It reminds you of Rambo. Okay. You know how Rambo was able to get out on those officers, especially when he was up in the wilderness. And says they were saying it was two shooters yesterday. Was it just one? Right. And that's what they were saying yesterday, that they believed that it was more than one shooter. It was two shooters. Positive I said, just because the police are trained to be prepared for situations like this doesn't mean they are prepared. Real life overpowers training. And that's facts, Positive Vibes. Salute Sabrina. Sabrina says, I think they may find a way to charge those two females. Blue Devil says, look straight, set up. Because then you got to wonder, could the officers have been mistakenly shot by their own? That's another theory. They could have caught bullets from they own. So we're definitely waiting. So we know that the suspect, 39-year-old Terry Hughes, had a warrant for illegal firearms. And they ran his record earlier today, and he has a long, extensive record, you know. And so they're wondering, why was he even out? Blue Devil G says, I think it's 2 shooters. It would seem to me that it was because in that footage, now, allegedly, he's on the ground. Allegedly, he's on the ground. And you still hear close to 50 rounds letting off. Now, the suspect is on the ground, possibly dead, you know. So where did those rounds come from? Where did those rounds come from? Salute, Carol. Glad to see you, Carol. Carol says the bottom line is he was a criminal. And that's facts. That's facts. Blue Devil G said they said it was a guy in the house too. That was yesterday. Because I thought also that they said it was a guy and a juvenile. Had me to believe that it was 2 guys. But now they're saying actually it was 2 females. A 17-year-old female and then an adult female. And I do know in cases like this, in the very beginning, you know, it's hard to give the exact details. So they may say something and then, may come back and, say something different. But as of now, they're saying that there were 2 females in the house, and one of the females was a 17-year-old teenager. And they said that they're being very cooperative. But I guess they would be able to tell if one of the females was firing any weapons, because I'm sure they were able to see if there were any gunpowder on their fingers, on their hands, Salute Tracy, salute Tracy. But it's just a sad day. And that's just the days and times that we're living in. I believe that, law enforcement's, of course, there are always crooked cops, but I do believe that the majority of the cops, take on that badge and give that oath to serve the community. So I think that there are more good cops than there are bad cops. And in this situation, there was nothing yet to determine whether or not they may have fired at the suspect. Who knows? Who knows? But as of right now, they were there to serve a warrant. But it's still puzzling me because 2 of the officers that lost their lives were correctional officers. Now, maybe they are law enforcement, they are police officers, but, they correctional officers part-time. So we're waiting. We're waiting. We got maybe less than 40 minutes for more live updates. Yes, 2 of them were officers, correctional officers. One was a U.S. Marshal, the ones that lost their lives. One was a U.S. Marshal, and 2 were correctional officers, and another one, I believe, was the sheriff or a captain of CMPD. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So, Ann says, okay, the U.S. Marshal, I understand, but not the COs, right? And then a Marshal, like I said, the one time that the Marshals came for me. Now, my charges were nonviolent. Salute, Lady Fresh. Salute, Lady Fresh. I appreciate you for pulling up, Lady Fresh. My charges were nonviolent. when the marshals came for me. And when they came for me, they came deep. It was like good 15 marshals. And they were at the front of the house and they were at the back. And they had their guns drawn coming up. Now, I seen them. Because first, I seen them pull up in front of my house. And they had my street blocked off. And then I ran to my back door and looked out my back door, and they were coming through my yard. So, it wasn't nothing that I could do. It was, like I said, it was a non-violent. The charges were non-violent. And, but they had their weapons drawn. And, I opened up the door for them because there wasn't no way I was going to get out of that. Carol M. says, you said to serve him or arrest him. My thoughts are, knew he was getting arrested and took the cowardly way out. My heart go out to the officers and their families. Positive Vibes said, your head was a mirror that day. Positive Vibes wouldn't be Positive Vibes if she didn't roast me. Right. Now, people feel like he took the cowardly way out. What made him take that way out? What made him take that way out? You have a lot of people that have took that way out. They refuse to be captured alive. That's been going on since the beginning of time. That's been going on in the Western days. That's been going on in the old time gangster days. But in a situation like this, you took the lives of these officers that do have family. And that's one thing that we have to look at. And I do believe that that's the bigger picture here, that it's okay if you want to take your life, but why take the lives of innocent people that have families to go home to? Positive Vibe says either way, they going to be captured. Right. It's like, that's one thing that I can honestly say, let's just say if he would have got away from that situation, they would have caught him. You know what I mean? They would have caught him. Eventually, they would have caught him. So I'm curious to find out those two females' involvement. Like, what was their involvement? And did he get tipped off? Did somebody tip him off? Salute, Blue Devil G. Let's see.
We're now learning new details about the 4 law enforcement officers who were killed yesterday. They include CMPD officer Joshua Eyer, who responded to the scene when the call for help first went out. Eyer worked with CMPD for 6 years after serving in the military police in the U.S. with the U.S. Army, the 211th Military Police Company.
North Carolina Corrections Department announced that Samuel Peloche and William Elliott were part of the U.S. Marshal's task force. Peloche joining the force in 2013 and Elliott joining in 2016. And we just learned the identity of the 4th victim this morning, Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks from Mooresville. He served in the Western District of North Carolina for the last 10 years. Weeks leaves behind a wife and 4 children.
We're also learning more about the other CMPD officers who were injured. Officer Chris Atali underwent surgery and is still recovering in the hospital. Officers Mike Giglio and Jack Blowers both suffering gunshot wounds, but they have since been released. And we also know that Officer Justin Campbell wasn't shot, but was treated for a broken foot. 12 CMPD officers fired their weapons during the incident, and this has been placed on administrative leave pending internal and external investigations.
There has been an outpouring of support for those officers and their families impacted by
So,
the shooting.
as y'all heard,
officials with the U.S. Marshals,
12 of the officers
all giving their thoughts and
exchanged fire. So, could it been possible that the officers got hit from the gunfire from their own officers? Right now, they said it's hard to tell, and that's, of course, why they're doing the autopsy and things of that nature. So that could be a strong possibility. It might not have been two shooters. It could have just been fire from the officers that hit the officers. What do y'all think? They said a total of 12 officers fired rounds. So what do y'all think? Blue Devil G says, why did they do this at night? Why did they do this at night or first thing in the morning? It was I believe it was 1:45 p.m. It was in the afternoon. It was 1:45. It was close to between 1:30 and 1:45, maybe 1:50 in the afternoon. So this took place in the afternoon. But they did mention a total of 12 officers fired rounds. So it could have been that some of the officers got hit from the officers. Because let's just look at it and chop it up. Once again, he got taken out. He got taken out. After he hit the ground, he was done with. He was done with. But there was still exchange of gunfire. Now, this suspect, 39-year-old Terry Hughes, he's out. He's done with. But there's still the exchange of gunplay. Now, we do know that there were officers in the back and there were officers in the front and on the side. So it's a strong possibility that they could have been exchanging fire at each other. They could have been shooting at each other, not knowing. Not knowing. You know, they thinking that, you know, they shooting at this suspect. So that's a possibility. Let's keep that in mind when this plays out. I'm curious for this to play out, to find out, because if the females, Blue Devil G says, I think someone in their house had a gun too. Now, they only have those females. They only have those females. Now, it's been 24 hours, and now one of the females have been charged. Now one of those females have been charged 24 hours after this. So who else was shooting? Like I said, the suspect was taken out. I believe 2 officers or 3 officers had got hit from him, or maybe 4. Maybe 4, because he came out gun blazing. He was with it. You know, he was with it. So that's what I'm curious to find out. Could it have been accidentally the gunfire from the officers?
Those officers lost their lives yesterday while trying to serve a warrant. Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce is live once again outside CMPD headquarters for us in Uptown.
And Daniel, several officers, they are now on administrative leave.
In fact, 12 officers have been placed on administrative leave for firing their weapon during this whole situation. This right here is standard practice we see anytime there is an officer-involved shooting. And typically what it is, an investigation is handled, and then depending on the findings of that investigation, that officer will be allowed back in the community, back serving and patrolling the streets. Now, we are learning that one of those CMPD officers is still in the hospital, or one of the 4 CMPD officers that was hurt is still in the hospital tonight. That officer, Chris Tolley, went through surgery to repair damage done by a bullet. The specifics of what that injury was, we still have not been given that, but we are told that he is still in the hospital, is stable, and could be released relatively soon. 2 other officers were treated for gunshots wound, Jake Blowers and Michael Giglio, who are both out of the hospital. And Officer Justin Campbell was also treated, but he sustained a broken foot. He has been released. Now, I asked if any of these 4 officers that were being treated at the hospital, if they are a part of those 12 officers who discharged their firearm and is a part of those 12 officers on administrative leave. That is an answer that I am still trying to get right now. Live in Uptown, Daniel Pierce, Queen City News.
Daniel, thank you. The death of these officers adds to the total number of law enforcement fatalities so far this year. 51 law enforcement officers have died in 2024. 20 were in shootings, including those yesterday. In North Carolina, 1 deputy died in the line of duty in a crash in Hartnett County earlier this year. And the number of officers dying in the line of duty continues to rise.
In 2023, the National Fraternal Order of Police reported its highest recorded numbers of officers shot in the line of duty since it began collecting data.
Queen City News anchor Morgan Francis is here looking into those statistics and the procedure of what happens to families that paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Brian, Annie, in 2023, 378 officers around the country were shot in the line of duty. 48 of those shootings turned out to be deadly. The national president of the Fraternal Order of Police is urging people to remember, while these are numbers and statistics, they also represent heroes, fathers, mothers, daughters, and sons. He goes on to say, quote, "This scale of violence against our officers is horrifying and simply unsustainable. It is no wonder that our profession is facing a recruitment and retention crisis. What father or mother would want their child to become an officer, knowing the dangers they face every day?" So what does happen to the family of the deceased after being killed in the line of duty? We went through North Carolina's Public Safety Employees Death Benefits Act to learn more. Here's what it says. According to those articles, when an officer is killed in the line of duty, the North Carolina Industrial Commission will award the surviving spouse or next of kin $100,000. Those funds come from the state's Contingency and Emergency Fund. There are GoFundMes and other fundraisers put on by third parties that can also help those impacted families financially. There's no word yet on when the funerals for the fallen officers may take place. When we learn more of details, of course, we'll have them on air and online at qcnews.com. Annie.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Pro-Palestine demonstrations continue in colleges across the country, but some of the protests are being called out for anti-Semitism. Washington correspondent.
Wow. Wow. Salute 80s, baby. Wow. Wow. What are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts? Ken Shin, salute Ken Shin says, I don't think crossfire from other officers are possible, especially the support officers shouldn't have been firing their weapons if they already have a group in front of them. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. So where did the shooting come from? You know, if he's stretched out, which he was, if he's stretched out on the ground, who was shooting at the officers? Who was shooting at the officers? Is only 2 females that they brought out the house. But I'm curious once again, why haven't they charged them? Why haven't they charged them? Maybe y'all can help me understand this. Maybe y'all can help me understand this. There were 2 females in the home. A 17-year-old and an adult female that they took down for questioning. Right? Let me come over here. I guess we'll have to wait. Blue Devil G says, did they find more guns in the house? As of right now, Blue Devil G, they didn't say that they found any guns in the house. So maybe they'll have something to add on. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. There's something going on with my likes because I'm not getting the likes. So I don't know if I have to go into my settings and fix my settings. But a few people have been telling me that it's no way that they can hit the like button. Do y'all see the like button? Ann says, I mean, they weren't wearing bulletproof vests. I thought all cops did. Right. It's this. You're going to serve a warrant, and your suspect has a criminal record. Your suspect had priors. The warrant for this suspect is for illegal firearms. Now, going in, this is a suspect. You're supposed to take all suspects in a high manner, but definitely him. For Ann says the facts are so strange. Very strange. Very strange. And Positive Vibe says, yes, the like is at the right top. Just click on it. Okay. It's just strange. Like, I just want this to play out because I want this to play out. And I was scheduled to go today, but when I got off from work, I was so tired. Yeah, they worked the old man today at work. So hopefully I could get out to the scene of the crime tomorrow because I'm trying to put this together, you know, and I'll say it again. Okay, let's go over the scene again. He comes out, right? He doing what he do. He letting off. He hit 3 or 4 of them. Then he get hit. He's down. Then you hear over 50 more shots, close to 100 more shots. 4 or 5 more officers get hit. Who shot those 4 or 5 officers? How did they get shot? Now you have 2 females in the home. I'm thinking one of those females, allegedly, I'm thinking allegedly, one of those females, if not both, but one of those females was shooting also. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Because they even said that it was more than one shooter. So how did the other officers get hit? We're less than 15 minutes away from another live update. So just bear with me for another 15 more minutes for another live update. But it's strange if y'all see I got over 200 people watching and I only have 12 likes. But that's fine. We won't worry about the likes. The content is more important. Ann says the cops out here in San Francisco straight shot like 69 shots at this guy who was running through cars and they didn't hit him not once. Wow. So you mean to tell me, Ann, they shot like 69 times and didn't hit him not one time? Wow. Ken Shin says, I mean, a gun will still go off even after you've been shot dead. Yeah, but, okay, Positive Vibe says Shank about to fall asleep. Okay, so let's look at it, y'all. Ken Shin says, I mean, a gun will still go off even after you've been shot dead. Okay, let's say the gun was going off. Okay, now, he's down. Now, how was it going off? Was it going off in the air? Was it? And then how many rounds, how many shots would have been fired? And even though that's a good point, I think it was one of the females. If it wasn't one of those females, I think it was from another officer's weapon. I don't think it was intentional, of course. Positive Vibe says, I don't see that happening here. Because, you know, when you, like I said, it didn't happen in movies. It didn't happen in movies. I didn't seen it in movies. We didn't all seen it in movies when somebody get hit, somebody gets shot, you know, they still clutching the weapon and they let off some rounds. But I don't think in this case. I think that the police is not coming forward right now with everything. And this happens. The police, they hold back some information. And then they bring out all of the information. I just don't see how he was able to hit 8 to 9 officers. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out. If y'all haven't hit the like button, hit the like button for me. One body in Yahweh, Los Angeles, something not right. One body. It's not adding up. It's just not adding up. You know, even how they approached the situation, it ain't adding up. Like I said, the marshals came for me and they was deep and they was prepared and they came for me and mine was nonviolent. My warrant was nonviolent. His warrant was illegal firearms. So that right there lets you know it's a strong possibility that he has in his possession some illegal firearms. It's a strong possibility that he might resort to using these illegal firearms. Mm. Mm. But once again, I don't condone no violence. And condolences go out to the officers' family that lost their lives. Throw up some prayer hands. Salute, Raw. Salute, Raw. R-A-W. Salute, Raw. Appreciate you for pulling up, Raw. Salute. We're like 10 minutes away. We're like 10 minutes away from a live update. So for all of y'all that's new and says, yeah, but vigilante don't like the government right now, it's a dangerous world today. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. So for all the newbies that just pulled up, suspect Terry Hughes is 39 years old, has lost his life. They were serving a fugitive warrant, a fugitive from justice, and he opened fire on law enforcement. Eight to nine officers were hit with gunfire. 4 of those officers lost their lives, along with the suspect, Terry Hughes. There were 2 females in that home that Terry Hughes came out. There were 2 females in that house, a 17-year-old female and an adult female. They were taken down to police headquarters for questioning. Police did say that the 2 females were very cooperative. Neither one of the females have been charged with anything. Police believe that there was another shooter that was shooting at them besides the suspect. So we all want to know, where's the shooter? Who is this shooter? Could one of the females been shooting at the police? Could both of the females been shooting at law enforcement? Salute, Mama Boo. Appreciate you for pulling up, Mama Boo. Salute, salute, Mama Boo. Ross says, I just saw the house, all of that because he didn't want to go to jail. I know, right, Raw? I know. Now, he done lost his life, but we don't know what he was thinking. But he done lost his life all because he didn't want to go to jail. Well, if y'all remember Beretta, y'all remember back in the days, the show Beretta, and what was the theme song? Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And that's why when it comes to this whole thing, as far as what's real, who's real, what's a gangster, who's gangster and all of this, and I tell people, selling drugs and shooting people, that's not what make you a gangster. That's not what make you real. What makes you real, what makes you a gangster is how you handle situations. Just because you shoot and take the life of a person, what was the reason why you shot that person? And who was that person that you shot? So that's why today I tell people, honestly, just get a 9 to 5. Just walk away from the street life. You know what I mean? Get a 9 to 5. However, if you happen to be in the streets and if you're going to make a living in the streets, just move accordingly. But I tell any and everybody, get a street life up. The streets is dead. The streets been dead a long time ago. It ain't worth it. Your freedom and your life is not worth it. I mean, just look. He lost his life. He gave up his life. For what? For what? Was it worth it? Out of everybody that's watching, drop a 1 if you feel he made a mistake by giving up his life. Drop a 1 if y'all feel like it wasn't worth him losing his life. Drop a 2 if you feel like it was worth him losing his life. Let me see how y'all thinking. Drop a 1 if y'all think he took the coward way out and it wasn't worth it. Drop a 2 if you think it was worth it. There go the 1s right there. And says you only end up in 1 or 2 places out there in the streets and ain't no love out there. And that's facts. We got 4 1s. I mean, that's the real corny ones. That's the real lame ones. Real talk. You in the streets? Come on, man. It's so much that you can do in life. And it's so many different ways that you can get money. Some people going to say, Shank, I don't have no money. What I'm supposed to do, my kids ain't eating. Me and my girlfriend, we don't got enough money to pay the bill. Go get a job. It ain't no jobs out there, Shank Rock. There's plenty of jobs out there. Jobs out here may not be what you want, but that's what's going to determine how real you really are. That's what's going to determine just how much of a gangster you are. Because a real one would work a job. A real one will work 2 jobs to take care of his family, because a real one knows I made this family, so it's my responsibility to take care of this family, right? Now, being a gangster, the most gangsterous thing that anybody can do is take care of your family. So no matter how you look at it, it all comes back to it just ain't worth it. Just ain't worth it. We're like 2 minutes away from another live update. They're going to be talking more about the suspect, how he got the weapons. I'm hoping that they're going to share with us who they believe was shooting. I'm hoping that they're going to share with us some the identity of the 2 females. I'm hoping that they're going to share with us what was those females' involvement in this. But we're a couple minutes away from another live update. Yeah, they setting up the podium now, so. Yeah, they setting up the podium now. Yesterday, they had pretty much everything shut down in Charlotte. I mean, they had elementary schools shut down, high schools. This street was shut down, that street was shut down. Yep. But things are back to normal. Things are back to normal. It's the talk of the town. You know, everybody been talking about it all day, all on the radio, all at the grocery stores, at work. Because stuff like that just don't happen, you know. And I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, but he was able to get off on multiple law enforcements. Like, that's unheard of. That's unheard of. Maybe one, but he was able to get off. He was able to take the life of 4 officers and wound 5 other officers. And one of those officers happened to be a U.S. Marshal. Ann says, Shank, so yeah, I said it was 65 bangs and the suspect was inside a RV initially. 7 officers did 65 and suspect went running and they were shooting at him with his back towards them. Salute Tracy Montgomery. Salute Tracy Montgomery. Appreciate you for pulling up. What you talking about? That's terrible shoot. Yeah, we talking about the shooting, and right now we're a couple minutes away from a live update. They're getting ready to talk more about the actual suspect. As of now, we know that the suspect is dead, and his name was Terry Clark Hughes Jr. He was 39 years old, and he did have outstanding fugitive warrant for possession of illegal firearms. So as of right now, that's what we know about the suspect. Now there were 2 females that was in that home, Tracy. It was a 17-year-old female, and then there was an adult female in the house. They're questioning them. They've been questioning them for the last 24 hours. A total of 9 law enforcement were shot. 4 of those law enforcement lost their lives. So that's where we're at now. We're talking about that. As I stated before, they're getting ready to do a live update of where the case is now. Appreciate you for pulling up, Tracy Montgomery. And we all want to know who else was shooting. You know, who else was shooting? So, let's get ready. We like a minute away.
Yesterday, 8 families had to be told that their loved one had been shot in the line of duty. Tragically, 4 of those families have made the ultimate sacrifice.
Gunfire, gunfire.
The officers going into the line of fire to save their brothers in blue.
They lost their lives after they gave us the opportunity to be in a safe place.
It's a scar on Charlotte, but a scar that won't heal.
I mean, there's families that are devastated right now, and even the people that were involved, you know, someone's kids. So, it's not good for the community. And hopefully, we come together.
You know, the last few days have it's just been very tough. We'll get through it, though.
And today we grieve after one of the deadliest days for law enforcement in America.
It's been just over 24 hours since 4 law enforcement agents were killed and 4 others hurt. And in times like these, questions of why and how linger.
Though the answers may not help with the grief, they may help us understand as we come together in midst of tragedy.
Our Queen City News team is continuing our coverage on this deadly shooting, from the impact this is having on the community around where the shooting happened and beyond, to new details we are learning of the fallen officers.
And we begin with Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce joining us live from CMPD headquarters, where There is a somber mood there, Daniel, as they remember their brothers in blue.
Yeah, even this morning we were told that there was just story after story being shared about CMPD officer Joshua Eyer. Also, along with that, stories being shared of U.S. Deputy Marshal Thomas Weeks and the members of the U.S. Marshal Task Force. That includes Alden Elliott as well as Sam Pelosi. Those 4 officers losing their life and described as this brave because they ran to the sound of gunfire, even at times trying to pull their brothers in arms to safety. And that is whenever, at least we learned that Joshua Eyer, that's whenever he was shot and killed while serving that warrant there in East Charlotte. We're told the gunman essentially was able to shoot down at officers before they even got to the front door of the house. This all unfolded there in East Charlotte along Galway. The gunman was shooting at officers from the 2nd floor of the house and was able to shoot through the back and front side of the house. This is why officers were saying that they thought that there may have been a second shooter. We've reported that 2 females were removed from the house, but right now police aren't willing to say if they're related to the gunman in any sort of way or if they could be facing charges or if they may even be one of the shooters. As this continues, though, this is an incredibly heavy situation, but the director of the Western Division of the U.S. Marshal's Office had this message on the attitude of all of those agents involved.
If you could speak to each one of those fallen officers today and ask them the question, why? They'd say, why what? They say, why did you take the oath? Why did you become law enforcement officers? Their response, why not? The second question, would you do this again, knowing your fate yesterday? Would you do it again? It would be a boisterous yes.
When we talk about the impact that this is having on officers, I'm looking off to my left right now at the Billy Graham response team. There are officers out there. It looks like they're sitting down, they're talking with individuals, and they're praying as they're trying to cope with this. 12 officers have been placed on administrative leave because they discharged their firearm in a situation. This right here is very common whenever you do have an officer-involved shooting, and they will remain on administrative leave until an investigation is done and they figure out the role that they played in this situation. Live in Uptown, Daniel Pierce, Queen City News.
Daniel, thank you for that report. And those prayers that you just spoke about, Daniel, are being remembered throughout the Queen City as the police procession carried a fallen officer from the medical examiner's office to where he will be laid to rest. CMPD officer Joshua Eyer is being remembered as a husband, a father, and a hero. Queen City News anchor Robin Candy continues our coverage tonight.
And Robin, you watched the procession just about an hour ago for the fallen officer. Describe the emotion of that ceremony.
It was a very quiet ceremony. After the hearse arrived here, we saw friends and family as well as police officers of fallen CMPD officer Joshua Eyer. They went right in here to the Mecklenburg County Medical Examiner's office. And then a couple of minutes later, we heard CMPD's bike patrol fire up their motorcycles. And we didn't hear much after that as the procession began.
Police officers line up to pay their respects to fallen Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department officer Joshua Eyer.
He's going to be sorely missed in this law enforcement community. And he was one of the ones that the kind of officer you want on your team. And as he demonstrated yesterday, he's the kind of officer you want to respond when you need help. He was rushing in to help a task force officer when he was taken on by gunfire. And then he finds himself from being a rescuer to needing rescue himself.
Officer Eyer's squad car is draped with an American flag at CMPD's North Tryon Division. The office is closed for the day in Eyer's memory. Officer Eyer served with CMPD for 6 years.
He was married and has a young son. Eyer was also a North Carolina National Guardsman. He was part of the 211th Military Police Company. They're remembering him as one of the most trusted and respected members of their unit. CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings is remembering Officer Eyer as a hero who rushed into danger to try and help his fellow law enforcement officers. The police chief was quite emotional at the loss of not only his officer, but 3 other law enforcement officers.
You know, the last few days it's just been very tough. And knowing that you have families that are hurting right now. We'll get through it though.
Just a very emotional time for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police. Officials tell us that Officer Eyer's funeral will be Friday at 10 a.m. at First Baptist Church in Uptown Charlotte. I'm live in Charlotte. Robin Kennedy, Queen City News.
And as the Charlotte community continues to grieve, we are learning new details about the other law enforcement officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. As Robin just mentioned, CMPD officer Joshua Eyer responded to the scene when the call for help went out. Eyer worked with CMPD for 6 years after service as a military police officer in the U.S. Army with the 211th Military Police Company. The North Carolina Corrections Department announced Samuel Pelosi and William Elliott were part of the U.S. Marshal's task force. Pelosi joined the force in 2013, Elliott in 2016. And we just learned the identity of the 4th victim, U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks, who's from Mooresville. He served in the Western District of North Carolina for the last 10 years. Weeks leaves behind a wife and 4 children. We've also learned more details about the other officers who were injured. Officer Chris Tolley underwent surgery and is still recovering in the hospital. Officers Mike Giglio and Jack Blowers both suffered gunshot wounds but have since been released from the hospital. And we also know Officer Justin Campbell wasn't shot but was treated for a broken foot. 12 CMPD officers fired their weapons during the incident and have been placed on administrative leave pending internal and external investigations.
And people along Galway Drive tonight quite literally picking up the pieces from everything that happened in their neighborhood yesterday afternoon. And that was the scene out of the shootout between the suspect, Terry Hughes, and U.S. Marshals and police. Well, tonight we have a closer look at the scene and more on Hughes' background. Queen City News anchor Derek Yellinger live tonight in East Charlotte along Galway Drive. Now, Derek, we see the home right there behind you, an incredible sight, but it's also brought a lot of people out there.
Yes, it has, and I'm just going to get out of the way so you can actually see this for yourselves. I mean, there's really not much left of the front end of this home, and this site has really brought a lot of passersby, people wanting to see all that happened here for themselves, even some national media here today. But for one man, everything that happened here was quite literally very, very close to home. Between all the tragedy that happened Monday, there is a lot that seems to be left behind. As police and other law enforcement cleared the scene, people got to look for themselves at the damage.
I've been following the story, and I said, let me come over here, take a look, and this whole thing is shocking. Never seen nothing like this. Never.
Even for next-door neighbor St. June, he was home and an unwitting spectator to the gunfight that led to all this damage.
I was starting my truck and ready to go work. And that's for like 1:40 in the afternoon.
Everything happening just feet away, some of it right in his yard.
Here's 5 U.S. Marshal. They pull over, block me, and I got no choice, and they run out and with the gun and go, 6 of them go backyard. And 2 and other 2 other side, 2 on the front.
From there, a shootout as June ran for safety. Authorities say Terry Hughes Jr. was the one firing the gun, shooting 8 law enforcement officers, killing 4 of them. Officers fired back, killing Hughes. Hughes' arrest history goes back to when he was 18. Records show he was a felon, having served time in prison for felony breaking and entering, and later again for possessing a weapon while a felon. He had a 2021 charge in Charlotte for a number of charges related to marijuana, along with fleeing and eluding authorities. The warrant they were serving Monday was for 2 charges. One was an eluding charge out of Lincoln County, along with a weapons possession charge. People here say that should have prompted a different type of response.
Yeah, they knew that guy. He got a gun, all that. That's why they called him to come out.
But while the investigation takes place into what happened, people are still coming by, wanting to see what happened right in their backyard.
I just can't imagine leaving home, going to work, not knowing if you're going to return.
Now, one thing that we've seen out here is really the sheer shock from people that have arrived here to take a look at this scene right behind me. And we've had a chance to talk to quite a few people today. Many people say that they are shocked that what happened yesterday happened here. Live in Charlotte, Derek Thatcher, Queen City News.
When officers die in the line of duty, there is a mental health impact that law enforcement agencies can face.
There sure is. The Queen City News reporter Casey Jones joining us here in the studio now, taking a look at how the departments are supporting officers after this tragic event. Casey?
Studies show the average person will witness 4 to 6 traumatic events in their lifetime. But for a police officer, they will experience approximately about 20 every year and 400 to 600 throughout his or her career. Officials say the tragic shooting Monday will leave a scar on officers' memories forever. A deputy U.S. Marshal, 2 North Carolina corrections officers, and 1 CMPD officer were all killed from the same incident. Officers from across the area responded to assist fellow officers while bullets flew back and forth between the suspect and officers. It's a high-pressure, high-stress situation that resulted in a tragic outcome. Good mental health is just as essential as good physical health as officers work through the pain of losing 4 colleagues. U.S. Marshals say they've deployed its crisis response team to give deputies access to resources to cope with that loss.
So I would implore any officer, local, state, or federal, that if you need assistance, it's okay not to be okay, and make sure that you ask. And I would think we should just keep repeating that.
So knowing that, 4 of our brothers didn't come home, for those who were out there on that scene, I know it's going to weigh heavily on them. And that's why the resources and the mental health treatments are of the utmost importance for something as critical as this.
Chief Jennings says 12 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers fired their weapons during the more than 3-hour standoff. Coming up at 6, I'll explain the emotional impact of working a scene like this and the resources available to assist these officers right now. Alicia?
Such important information. Thank you so much, Casey, for that report. And we understand this is a lot to process, so you can keep up with the latest details on the Shannon Park shooting by heading to our site at qcnews.com.
You're watching Queen City News.
So, well, did y'all hear that he was shooting in the house? That's why I was saying if he came out gun blazing and he hit the officers and then they took him down, then who kept shooting? And how did the other officers get shot? That explains it now. He was shooting already. He was shooting before he even came out. So it's a strong possibility. Now I do believe that he was the only shooter. Now, because I was like, if he came out guns blazing, then it had to be another shooter or other shooters. But they cleared it up and said that he was shooting already in the house. And he was hitting them from the front and then on the side. That's why I was like, wait a minute. So once again, that explains. Did everybody else catch that? Did y'all catch that as well? He was letting off in the house. Wow. Wow. Wow, y'all. So that was an important piece of the puzzle. Now, we can, look at the situation for what it was. Now it's definitely a strong possibility that those females, they wasn't shooting. Because I kept trying to figure out, well, maybe they was. But the fact that he was shooting already, I doubt if those females were shooting. So how y'all feel? How are y'all feeling now? Salute Stephen Evans. Salute Stephen Evans. I think I pronounced it right. Salute DG. Salute Donald Gorn. Salute. Yeah, the city is definitely a tragic city, a war zone. Charlotte is definitely off the hook, DG. Steven says, I'm still catching up on the story. We up here in New Jersey. A recap for us, big bro. Appreciate that, Steven. What part of Jersey? Patterson, Camden, or Trenton? What part of Jersey you in, Steven? Newark? EO? Where everybody else at? I know 80s baby is repping St. Louis. Drop y'all location. Let everybody know where y'all repping from. And repping Cali. Let me see if they talking about it somewhere else. Yeah, I know where you repping Positive Eyes. Yeah, Steven, they was serving a fugitive warrant, the Marshals, for possession of illegal firearms. And he just start letting off on them. Tracy says all his inner cities are being affected in so many similar ways is really this. Sad and unfortunately. Yeah. I'm wrapped in Philly and Sickleville from the Buckeye State. How are you doing? Thanks for sharing. I'm doing good. I'm repping Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore, but I live in Charlotte. Law enforcement hit him up. Law enforcement took him out. So he ended up hitting 9 law enforcements. 4 of them he killed. 4 of them he killed. A U.S. Marshal. Well, 3 of them was U.S. Marshals, but the 2, they were U.S. Marshals as well as correctional officers. Shout out to Philly. Where my Eagle fans at? Buckeyes for life. Ohio, Buckeyes. Where my Eagle fans? Well, everybody, that's all we have for right now. That's all we have for right now. As Tracy says, word right here, go Eagles. Hope they cheat this shit. You think the Eagles cheat, Tracy? Drop a 1 if y'all think the Eagles be cheating. Drop a 1 if y'all think the Eagles be cheating. And as soon as something new come available, I will bring it to y'all. And also, we will be doing a demonstration on P. Diddy. Have y'all heard that P. Diddy's lawyer filed a motion and pushing the issue that the actual charge or that they trying to get him with wasn't on the books back then. No, they got cheated on. Do you know that? But we're not looking back. We focus on what you're talking about. It's sad and serious. We have to pray. Yes, yes. Yeah, P. Diddy's. How do y'all feel about P. Diddy's attorney filing that motion stating that, well, the charge that they trying to get on P. Diddy, the SA and all of that, those charges wasn't on the books back then when it happened. Is that a form of guilt? How do y'all feel about that? That's what the next demonstration is going to be about. Do y'all think that that's a form of guilt? Because he ain't saying, look, my client didn't do this that he's being accused of. My client is innocent of these accusations. They're pushing the issue that that charge wasn't on the books back then. So what do y'all think? But that's going to be the next demonstration. Steven says, oh, you be keeping up with current events and ish over. Right. Then what's up, new sub? Appreciate that. Yeah, go down my catalog and you'll see that I've been keeping up with Diddy, Jaguar Wright, Jay-Z, Orlando Brown, you just name it, Suge Knight, Gene Deal, just whack 100. Just go down my catalog and you see that I've been doing current events. I just did yesterday and today. Salute Eye of the Storm. Salute Eye of the Storm. Appreciate you for pulling up. Did he trying to say what butt he has left? Right, positive vibes. But did you see that? Did you see that? Follow me on Instagram, Steven. Follow me on Instagram at ShankRock1218 and I'll send you my links. But if you don't get a link from me, I go live every day between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. If I don't go live at 4 p.m., I definitely go live at 5 p.m. So for everybody that want to know when do I go live, I go live every day between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. Sometimes I don't send out the demonstrations to everybody. Sometimes I don't send out the links. So just know you could catch a demonstration from me, a live demonstration every day between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. So make sure y'all pull up tomorrow. Tomorrow's demonstration, I'm going to do it at 5 p.m. And it's going to be on P. Diddy. Is that a form of, or is that a way of saying that he's guilty? Because if I didn't do something, hey, look, I'm innocent of this. You know, I'm innocent of this. But notice the motion that the lawyer filed on P. Diddy's behalf. And it didn't say, look, my client is innocent. He said that these charges wasn't on the books back then. So how can he be brought up on these charges if the charges wasn't on the book? Make sure everybody pull back up tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Salute. I'll see everybody back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Salute.